I'm just out here and I just decided to press record because something has been on my mind. Since the beginning of the year, I decided to totally withdraw from all social media. Well, that's not strictly true. Apart from LinkedIn, which I need for marketing purposes, and one of my Instagram profiles, which although most of my other two Instagram profiles have been deactivated, my equestrian one is still active, but I don't have the app on my phone, so I'm not tempted to go in there and start doom scrolling and killing what few brain cells I have left in my 62-year-old brain. Anyway, so why did I do it? I did it because I wanted a restart. I did it because last year I didn't hit my objectives. And why didn't I hit my objectives? I can't blame anybody else but myself. I came here in 2020 initially to visit my mum to recover my relationship with her. We'd never really had the best of relationships because that generation of parent, especially from the Caribbean, they never really seemed to be good at telling you how they really felt about you. It was just discipline. And I got the feeling when I was a child that you had to be seen and not heard. My mother went through two marriages, of course, my biological father, who she divorced when I think I was about 5. He then abducted me and tried to get me out of the UK to send me to Nigeria to be with his parents. God say dank. Thank God that didn't happen. But then again, I don't know how my life would have been had that have happened anyway. But I think my mum at that point, she definitely had my best interests at heart. I then go through life and I just didn't understand a lot. I grew up with separation anxiety. I didn't even know that I was growing up. I was being programmed through the way that my life was going that way, which really, now I understand it, tells me that the way that I've been living my life, until fairly recently, has been the product of separation anxiety, because I've always felt that I've had to work extra hard to make people like me, make people love me, right? So I can feel good about myself. And I would go the extra mile. I would chase friendships, relationships, and always end up being the one who's worse off. Does it ring any bells? So, I then become a coach in 2015 and I start this journey, which was, sort of like self-healing, understanding, myself more than anything else. It wasn't about going out there and helping and inspiring people. And the reason why I did that is because I'd just come out of a 20-year relationship, or 17-year relationship with my former partner. And I didn't want to fall into pools of self-pity and despair. I wanted to look up, I wanted to recover, and I wanted to move on. So I moved out of our accommodation, moved into my own accommodation with Baxter, my dog, God rest his soul, beautiful dog, and a new chapter had begun, but I didn't see it back then as a new chapter. But all I knew was that I buried my head in self-development, got a coach, got a mentor, people like Tyson E. Franklin, people like David M. Fries, some great people out there listening to podcasts. And then I'm thinking, I would like to do that. So as I was recovering, right, I was also thinking, well, yeah, I would like to do this kind of work and help people as well, because I've always liked to help people to be better. After all, this started when I was in the military, when I was a recruit instructor. So let's come forward, right? So I've got all of this. I'm going to have to pause in a second. There's a loud motorbike going by. Not that loud. Yeah. So I then started doing that. And I started learning a lot of things about myself progressively. You're not going to change everything overnight. It's a process. You hear this thing about you've got to trust the process, etc., etc., etc. That is really true. And I don't really like these cliche things because I just think everybody says it's like, to be the best version of yourself, which I think is an absolute ridiculous thing to say because there's only one version of you as a person, right? The different versions of a person are created by a third party depending on their experiences that they have with that person, which brings me to 2020 when I came over here to visit my mum. I came over here to visit my mum to make my peace with her because I never really had a good history with her. I had a secret I was hiding from her. The way that she brought me up made me think that I wasn't loved. I was there to be seen. I developed this negative schema, which then went into give birth to a lot of dysfunctional thinking, which then created limiting beliefs. And this was the script that I was telling myself most of the way through my life. So it affected all of the relationships that I've ever had in my life. But I rediscovered my mum in 2020. I went back to Germany. I then made the decision that I was going to come back here to Nevis, the island of Nevis, which is in the Caribbean. There was a delay in getting here, but before I did that, what I did, I had a plan. I wanted to record my mother's voice, so I did some research and I found these standard questions which I doctored, which I could then ask my mum in a form of an interview about her life. What was it like growing up as a little girl? What did she used to do? What was it like when she was at school? What was it like when she originally left Nevis and went to the UK in the late 50s, early 60s? What was it like when she met my tall, dark, handsome father, Samuel? Her life then changed and it took a different direction. Anyway, so at the age of 5, they got divorced. There was a custody battle. He tried to abduct me, to take me out of the country, to plant me with his parents in Nigeria. Fortunately, I can say that now because I can't imagine what my life would have been like back then in the early 60s, the mid to late 60s, early 70s. I couldn't imagine what my life would have transpired to be. Anyway, I then get the opportunity to make up with my mum. I interview her. I've got about 5 hours of recorded conversations with my mum, and they are amazing. So I guarantee you that if you were to do this with your grandparents and with your parents and you keep them, right, you can pass them on to your kids, to your grandkids and say, these were your parents, these were your grandparents. And it's an amazing thing to do. I rediscovered my mum as this beautiful woman who had her regrets. She admitted her mistakes, but that's not what I wanted to hear. What I wanted to do was I just wanted to hear her story. So a couple of years after I got here, after 2021, she then unfortunately passed away. I gave her a funeral, but by then other things were happening. I didn't realize that I was behaving in a way socially that was alienating me from other people, especially family members who I developed a mistrust to, and also within the expat community here, I was basically being an asshole. And the reason why I was being an asshole is because I had this repressed anger, which was probably coming from, hate to say it, my inner child. My inner child was acting out. But, I then went into what I would say was isolation, self-imposed isolation. I lived alone. Well, in fact, I've been living alone since 2015, right? And that gave me the opportunity to be creative with myself. And bit by bit, I started to claw back the me. I mean, I'm still pretty much on my own, right? Which is okay. I've learned how to like myself, how to love myself, how to be on, in my own company, right? But the important thing is that you learn not just about yourself, but you learn about the dynamics that you have with other people. So for example, I was one of these people that if I would send you a text message and you didn't text back within what I would say was an acceptable period of time, it would have a catastrophic effect on me. well, not it, but I would, because of my thinking, would generate negative thoughts, feelings, and I would implode basically, and I would sulk basically, you know. That had to stop. So I had to fix that. I had to fix the negative thinking that I had. I had to think more positive. And all of this time I was a coach, coaching people how to do better in their lives, which actually was my life calling. And I do believe that my life calling was strategic by the divine to help me to evolve the person that I was and that I'm still becoming. So I don't consider myself an influencer or a content creator. I am just Wilson. I am a coach, and my divine calling in life is to elevate, to motivate, inspire and empower people to do better, either in their private lives, in their professional lives. It's something that I feel that I was born to do. I feel that I'm good at it. I love it. This is not a plug for business or anything else. It's just that I found my way through solitude, through adversity. So here's something about adversity. It's there to teach us. It's there to make friends with. It's there for you to ask, what is it that I'm being asked to learn? What is it that I'm being asked to step up and do? So I realize that this video has gone on for 11 minutes and I'm not sure how it's going to be received, but thank you very much for listening. I may do a follow-on depending on what kind of engagement this makes, but I've just wanted to get that off my chest and to be a little bit more transparent about Coach Wilson Lawrence or Wilson Lawrence. Let's have no titles. Have a wonderful 2026. If you need any help with anything, if you just want an ear for, to offload, then just drop me a line, in the comments below, and I will connect with you and see what I can do for you. Thank you very much for your time and attention. As the Klingons say, Kapla.